few differences, but I mean, just the ability to, move things around, get to two back. Just they're so multiple. They have a lot of speed, and Tua is really good in his timing. So there are some similarities, but they do execute as well. So there's some stuff you can grab on, but we'll see.
What are the points you emphasize when you face a team with such speed like Miami has?
I mean, it doesn't. We just have to execute right. I mean, it's more every week is that because I feel like, when we do execute well, we play better. But you want to take speed off if you can, when it applies, depending on the coverage is. But you got to hit guys. Hopefully, they don't run as fast. But we'll see.
Nick also talked about how he feels like the defensive line is really hitting its stride at this point. What is it that's so challenging about what Chris Foerster asks that it takes a little while for guys like Leonard Floyd to really get up to speed?
I guess it depends on where they came from, what scheme they came from. And I think Leonard was more stand-up and, done some outside linebacker-ish type stuff. So just depends. Some guys, there's just different styles, just like how our linebackers play too, if they come from a different type of scheme, just, with 3-4 versus, 4 down. And even some 4 down teams don't play like our D-line does. So it kind of depends, getting on your target, your explosion lines and, how we play blocks and how we attack. And I think with Floyd and any of the guys that have come that are new, they've gotten better. That's kind of been the whole kind of theme of this year is like how fast can we get better and kind of gel together, because it wasn't just young guys that was playing, it was new guys that we brought in because so many new guys came in. And it's just been cool to see, that come to fruition the last couple of weeks.
I saw it last year also. I know you weren't defensive coordinator, but you were here with Chase Young, Randy Gregory, kind of not really, I guess, hitting their potential or stride until maybe the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And Nick both said it's very nuanced, all the different things that they do. Can you give us, one example of,
I mean, it is. It's nuanced in, like I just said, your explosion and your footwork and how you think you're attacking when you really maybe not. So that's one example. No, I mean, that's the truth. You feel like you're getting off the line until you show no, this is what it's supposed to look like. And then they start to feel what that really feels like. And then someone like Leonard that's had been in a 2-point most of his career, and he'll still stand up from time to time because we don't want to take, those other 8-9 years out of him because he's used to it. But there's times that it takes a while to, be in a 3-point stance and then having those good footwork and explosion lines with your, feet off the line.
So much emphasis placed on practice time and needing practice time to get better. It's something Kyle emphasizes all the time.
Yeah.
How do you account for guys like Huff and Greenlaw being so good, now, immediately after missing all the time they missed?
That's a good question. I mean, because Greenlaw's done that. He did it a few years ago, too. I think it was the first year I got here. I got here in 22, and in 21 was the year that he had played the first game and didn't play till the very end against the Rams. And it was this guy missed a whole season and just played this game, and it was so good. I think it's also what they're focusing on when they're not playing. That's, when you're hurt and am I putting myself fully into this mental rep or am I not? Or am I studying with my time? And then also those guys are special too. So, they picked up the system really well and really fast. And I think it's what are you thinking about and what are you doing when you're not out there? Are you getting those exact mental reps to when you come back, you don't have to think as much as before?
The last game was a week ago, so it seems like a long time.
It
We
does.
haven't heard from you on this. So what was your perspective of Devondre Campbell's situation and how perplexing was it to you?
I mean, yeah, perplexing. I think Kyle and John pretty much hit it. I think they summed it up along with our players as well as anybody. So I don't really have anything to add more than what it was and what everyone has said.
Nick, what's your thoughts on Malik Mustafa long term at free safety? Can he play there long term? Can he be your answer there?
Yeah, I think our safeties have to be multiple, and yeah, he's been great so far. He's gotten better. He's been violent. He's played fast. He's really accelerated how he communicates and how he executes.
Is there a difference between free and strong safety in your defense, or?
Yeah, there's some differences, but we like our guys to be able to do both.
Nick, on the end of game, that third down play that was 14-yard pass that completed to Parkinson, what happened?
Just miscommunication. We had some of those calls, and just right there they got us. Cool. Appreciate it.
Right. Bosa was saying he hadn't played in a quote unquote like meaningless game. They're not high stakes here, like ever in his life. I was just wondering, when's the last time you were on a team that was kind of out of contention?
Maybe college, like towards the end when like out of Big 12 contention, but outside of that, I've never played in a game where I've never tried or like for myself, man, I love the game of football and to go out and compete any chance I can get. Like since I was a kid, it's always been the mindset and the case. So I don't know if I've ever played in a game that's ever been meaningless to me. So yeah.
I didn't mean to imply.
No, yeah, I understand. I know, yeah. But obviously, my first 2 years, I mean, we haven't. We've always been in contention and stuff. So yeah.
Is there, I mean, with these last 3 games, is there anything in particular that you really kind of focused in on, an area where you think that there's just so much room to improve and you guys need to build some momentum heading into next season?
I think just offensively, man, just trying to play a complete game for each other. Obviously get the run game going, pass game, everything. Just get it clicking on all 4 cylinders, and I think just be able to play for 4 quarters, like a good, legit, complete game. Defense is playing great right now. Special teams is playing their best ball. So for us, it's like, all right, offense, let's get this thing going and look like the Niners that we all know.
Talk about the complete game that you want. Why has the fourth quarter been so much different this year than last year? I mean, obviously last year you played with a bigger lead usually, but is there bigger pressure? Are defenses playing you guys differently? What's the difference this year with the fourth quarter?
I mean, I just think it comes down to, every drive matters. We get into it and it's like, you start thinking about what we could have done in the game, and we're in this situation and we shouldn't be in this situation. And for all of us, it's like, no, man, like that's the game of football. And so I think for all of us, we got to learn from that and be like, even if we are in this situation, like we got to find a way to finish and complete a game, even if we do have some mishaps and stuff that happen early on. So I think it's really just a mindset thing more than anything.
I'm sure you have more time to dig into it when the season's over, but how would you assess just how you've played this year and what kind of growth, or maybe step back, or just kind of the way you feel like you've progressed this season?
Yeah, I think there's some plays out there that I'd love to have back, and wish I could have been better for my team and for myself, and but at the same time I feel like there's been some growth in my game that has happened, and really just I think like leadership wise with this team and sort of stepping up and when the team needs it, sort of just being a guy that they can hear from. And in the past I've been sort of particular about when I speak and waiting for the right moment, but this year it's been more than it has. And so I don't know, I feel more comfortable in who I am, but also like I think I need to get better and get back to playing with the chip on my shoulder, and like it was my first 2 years of every game, every down, trying to prove to myself that I'm the guy for this team and I'm capable of doing it. And so that's sort of just been the case this year with some moments, and got to learn from that.
Back to playing with the chip on your shoulder, do you feel like it hasn't been there, and if so, why?
No, I mean, I think it has, but there's been moments where I feel like I was a little bit more concerned and consumed with trying to be perfect rather than, hey, man, let's go out and compete and show my guys, my teammates that, I love this game and that I'm passionate about it and I can lead them in any situation. So, sort of just handling that mentally and getting back to that.
There's been some speculation whether you've been at 100% since coming back from the shoulder injury. Has it felt tight? I mean, how have you felt since coming back? No,
since I've been back playing, it feels good, and there's no doubt in my mind that there was still some injury with it or anything like that. When I got back on the field, man, I was good to go to play. So,
Brock, the NFL doesn't give you a lot of time for reflection, but this is where it started for you professionally. When you think back to that Miami game, the first game that you played in the pros, what stands out? What are your recollections from that day?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just like any other game my rookie year in terms of, backing up Jimmy and getting ready for it, and being ready if my name was to get called. And when I go in, just know my answers within every play and keep the offense on the field. And I just kept it simple, and I competed my butt off. It was really that simple. And so here we are 2 years later. It's going to be cool to go down and play them again, and down to Miami. Grew up a Dolphin fan and everything, so I think it's pretty cool just going into Miami and playing in that stadium. So, for me, man, there's a lot for me to go into this game and compete and show my guys, that I'm a competitor and I want this more than anything. So.
In a game 2 years ago, they said they kind of ripped up their defensive game plan when you went in and they started blitzing you like crazy. In a way, did that kind of help you with the, just getting the ball out quickly and kind of the predetermined, you knew where you were going? Did it make it more easy on you because they're blitzing so much?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, physically, like when they're bringing the house and they're bringing more than we could block for. As a rookie, it can sort of be tough to set my feet, throw accurately, get the ball off, throw on time. All those things are a little tough, but at the same time, if you complete it, it could be big gash plays and stuff. So it's hit or miss with that. But looking back on it, I understand why they did what they did. A rookie quarterback getting thrown in, not knowing that he's going to play in that game, and try to heat him up. So I get it, but here we are 2 years later, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do for this one.
You got to see Marino at the FaceTime, I think, last season, right? Have you met him in person since then?
No, I haven't met him in person.
He's supposed to be there. Is that something?
Yeah, maybe. If that happens, that'd be sweet.
If you, I was asking a stupid question. Austin, another question.
Also stupid.
Nice.
He's funny. I'm not sure any quarterback loves the rain. In fact, there's some legendary quarterbacks that have said, it was a nightmare. But it's been brought up, like, no Brock in the rain, Brock in bad weather, is going to struggle. Do you feel like there are like any serious issues with precipitation or anything, and you just having a handle on the ball?
No. I mean, I think any person that's throwing an object in the rain, it makes it wet. The grip isn't as good. I think for me, it's been more about learning, how to change the motion a little bit and throw differently in the rain. You can't just get back there and be as violent as you normally are, and ball can come out and all that kind of stuff. So it's like it comes down to sort of learning how to handle those kind of environments and finding a way to complete the ball, move the chain, stay on the field, put up points. Those are all things, man, that you sort of just got to learn as you go. And so, for me, and if I see bad weather for a possibility in a game, I don't freak out or anything. It's just like, all right, how can I, be better and learn from, games that I've played in those kind of, situations or environments. So that's how I look at it. And for me, I can play in it. So thanks, guys.
Chris, what have you gotten from Jalen Moore? How do you feel about just how he has stepped in the bench?
Jalen's done a good job, man. Jalen's last week his hip started bothering him in warm-ups, and so last week probably wasn't as good a game as he's had in some of the other two. He's done a good job, Not there's a lot of things he can still work on to be better. Starting consistently week after week becomes an issue as always. They start getting a book on you, things you're doing that you need to fix and work on. You better get better. But he held his own last week and did a good job.
I think maybe the first time he got real playing time was against Denver 2021. At Denver.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go well. I mean, naturally he's gotten better since, but has it been leaps and bounds, and just as far as his growth?
Well, I think I think it's gotten better. Leaps and bounds is how they're measured, but he's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. He's has he proven to be a upper echelon starter in the National Football League? Probably not at this point. Is he a middle of the pack, down second? I mean, where does he rank, 1 to 32 or 64 starters in the league at tackle? Where does he fit in that thing? I think he's somewhere. I think he is somewhere in there. I don't think he's outside the realm of starting. He's ideal as a swing guy, obviously, because you have a guy that can step in and play at a starting level, because he has done that through these years he's played. Obviously, he's replacing a guy that's been a really, really good player through the course of his career, but he's done a good job, and I think it's for a guy that everybody thought was going to play guard, where we drafted him, and he ended up playing tackle. I think it's been good, and I don't think you set the bar that low just because of where he came in the league, but I do think it's been good. I wish it could be better, and I think I do think there's always a perspective of winning and losing, and in the losses, bad plays become magnified, and in the wins, and in the wins, they're somewhat glossed over sometimes. So as a whole, he's been good, but I wouldn't. He still has room to improve.
Can he still be a guard?
That's why we have him at tackle. I mean, he could. I mean, not saying he couldn't, but he's never had a chance to really compete at right tackle because he's always backed up to Trent at the left, and Trent during training camp's always been in and out. Moving him inside to play guard. We want him to compete when we've had some open guard spots, but the same thing, it's hard to get him in there to be able to compete. I do think there is what I saw in him when we got him here. I always think if a guy can play tackle, leave him at tackle. Then move him in if he can't. That's always been my philosophy, right or wrong. And I think there is something as far as Jalen, the way he's built, quickness, speed, that quick twitch. It's a little bit more important sometimes inside than out. That explosiveness that Jalen has, sometimes a little bit slower getting going than is in other guys. And so I think what I've seen from him, I think he's more of a tackle than a guard.
Vision Pooney doing something like that, going from guard to tackle, and what would he have to do to make that switch?
Yeah, Pooney's outstanding. He's doing a really good job at guard. I think he has the twitch that we saw some on tape in college and then has done better in the NFL with it. He's a guy that in weeks that we have had, and I haven't repped him out there yet, but he would be a get us out of the game at tackle guy if we had to, because he has the experience at it, could do it. I do think his overall, really range, I guess is a lack of a word. Sometimes range gets a guy at tackle. You can't get out to the wider guys because of how you're built and how you're framed that way. That's why I think the move to guard for him I saw that's a better spot for him than tackle, although he could in a pinch play. In a pinch he can play all five. He snapped the ball as well. He's been in some of the games, I can't remember which one, when we were down to only 2 guys or 3, he would have to go in the game and snap the ball to get us out of it, have him out there taking snaps before practice.
Talked a lot about the process of when somebody has a bad game or they face different challenges. You enjoy how that goes and how the offensive line evolves and faces that stuff throughout the year. It would seem like it's not been a great year for that group compared to maybe years in the past. How would you say they face those challenges and evolve this season?
I think we're like the team. Yeah, we're not good enough. It's been, at 6-8, no, there's no excuses, no hiding behind it. We've had our games and recently more than we would like. I'd argued the case before we went to Green Bay. I thought that we were playing pretty good football, and every player I could say on a grade sheet was grading out better, even though the record didn't show it. Went to Green Bay, didn't play well. Then we played a snow game, which was fun for us up front, but it's hard to measure that. And the game since then, Chicago was okay, and then this game last week was not up to par. And so we've had too many games of late that aren't good enough, and we need to continue to work to improve these last 3, and I think we can. I think on a whole, regardless of what the record ends up being at the end of the season, on a whole, we could have a more productive season this year, albeit, there's just a lot of factors that go into this thing as to why it maybe doesn't look as productive. But from a man-by-man, how some of these guys have improved and worked, it doesn't always carry out. I've said before, my guys, we can grade out 100% across the board, and we can get beat by 3 touchdowns. We can grade out, everybody grades losing football, and we can win the game by 3 touchdowns. Because when the ball gets in a guy's hands, we didn't play well, and you think about a couple plays in that game that we have back last week, and we're feeling, wow, we played really well against that. Well, he didn't run the ball as well, but boy, you won the game, and boom, you're on to the next week. And man for man, there has been some improvement. But, it's not going to get noted, and everybody takes blame when you don't win, and we definitely carry our share of it.
Kyle, why you guys struggled to run? You guys have struggled to run the ball, it seems like, at times since the bye week. And I asked Kyle why. He said there were a number of reasons, but he said it's not getting blocked clean enough up front. What do you see from the run game in the last month or so?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons he said. Obviously, there were more things he said in that quote. But yeah, he definitely was it isn't. And obviously, if you have gaping holes, they're going to run through them. And if they're not, then they're not going to. So we have to block better. I've always said that since the first day we've talked in here. I've always said we have to do a better job if our run game's going to be productive, but there's going to be misses. There's going to be misses in blocks by receivers, misses by runs by the runners, tight ends. Everybody plays a role, just like pass protection. Sacks are a stat that goes with the offensive line, but sacks are also a product of route running, quarterback decision making, other people blocking. There's so many factors that go into it. So again, not deflecting. We have to do a better job. We're a part of the run game not being as successful as it could have been the last few weeks. We're also, so that's what we have to continue to work on to improve these last few weeks. And there's change. Runners are different. The linemen are different. There's excuses. They're just excuses. It's not productive enough, and we have to be better at it.
Line coaches are so precise and detailed, and you're talking about the grading. I'm just curious whether it was Trent or anybody else. Have you ever had a guy that played an almost perfect game? Or is there so much to critique that never happens?
Well, I would say that I went through a season with Jonathan Ogden, and Jonathan Ogden that season graded, I'm not percentage-wise, it doesn't matter, but he had no sacks, no penalties, very few pressures or hurries on the quarterback. graded well above what I would say would be winning football. That was as close to a year. I think it was we were 13-3. I have to go back and look. We were here in 8, 9, 7, 7. It was 2006 in Baltimore. His second last year, he had as good a year as I've ever coached a player to have. When I was with Randall McDaniel in Minnesota, these are the two Hall of Famers I've coached up to this point. But he was almost as good in one of my years in Minnesota. I wasn't the line coach there, but I was an assistant, and he had one of those seasons as well where you're hard pressed to see him miss a block during a game.
People ask about Bobby Turner and meticulous and attention to detail. Inevitably, it was brought up quickly. I assume most coaches are meticulous and have attention to detail. What makes him, or can you describe, provide an example of how he's like in the, I don't know, seems like 99th percentile?
Bobby? Yeah, Bobby's a trip, man. I love Bobby. Bobby literally takes nothing for granted. I mean, like, sometimes I'm like, I have said this so many times, I'm not going to say it again for the 16th week in a row. I'm done saying it. I've said it. You guys know it. We understand it. Bobby's going to go to page 1, start at page 1A.1A, and it's going to go right down the list. His tip sheet is going to be full. It's going to be every single detail. It might be the most basic and fundamental thing, but he never lets it go by, and he never misses one of them. Every little thing that's going to be mentioned, he mentions. He covers them all. Obviously, he emphasizes what's more important for the week, but Bobby just doesn't get tired of the detail. He never gets tired of starting at 1A and just continuing to go down the list. I try to tailor it a little bit more. Like certain guys, like I feel like for me personally, I lose them. Like God love Juice and Christian, right? Because they hear 1A again. I think those are two very, very smart players that probably have 1A down, right? But they hear it every week as well. So, and that thing, Christian, I asked Christian one day about it, and he could not have been more complimentary. He said, if a guy was going to last in the league, as an undrafted free agent 1 year, with Bobby, he might make it 3. If he's on another team. He's on another team, he might make it 3. Bobby gets him 6. Because they'll know every facet of everything and he makes sure they get it, and that's what he's so good at. And so he has, I don't know if it's patience, whatever that gene is inside of him. He's in his daggum 70s, and he's got as much energy around this place as anybody. I love the guy, but the detail, that's what it is. It's just he just does. We all do it. I mean, in everything we do, I can know how to do that, and you move on. But Bobby covers it all, man.
As working as close to Mike McDaniel as you did through the years, I'm sure you have many stories to tell. What's your perspective on just how he's fit into that role as the head guy?
Yeah, Mike is a bad phone guy. He gets he doesn't respond a lot. So I haven't talked a lot to Mike since he's been down there, once or twice a year maybe. And my youngest son was living in South Florida for a while, and he was trying to get into coaching, so Mike let him in the building to help out, and we had some communication along that lines. And I worked closely with Mike all the years I was with him. It sounds like from the guys that I know that work with him right now, he's taken the role very, very well. He's done a good job with leadership. As everything with Mike grows into it. He's a very smart guy. He's able to adapt and do things. So I think he's adapted very well and grown in the role. And the best thing I've seen about Mike is he's been able to be himself. As quirky and as whatever the pressers are that you guys see, that's Mike. If you got to know him at all here, Mike's Mike. And I'm really happy that he's able to be himself. I really love the guy. He's a great person, good guy. And it seems like he's handled the situation very well. But I can't, we don't talk all the time about what he's dealing with.
Rich, you've been coaching in this league a long time. You seem very calm with us, but all football coaches have a temper. Have you ever asked a guy to go into a game and he said no? And how would you respond to that if it happened to you?
Yeah, I've never had a guy not go in the game. I've had to take guys out of game and hold guys out of games more. I've never had that happen. So I don't know how I'd respond. I get fired up. I like to get after guys, and I tell them it's like there's this book called the Body Keeps Count or something like that, and that when your brain remembers traumatic events. And so if I correct you like, hey, next time make sure you get your head outside, that's not very traumatic. But if I go off, hey, get your freaking head outside, we gotta get going, let's go, that marks the guy, and it's like, oh, now I'm gonna make sure you remember to get my head outside, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I kind of do I try to boom, take it from 0 to 100, say snap them back into it, and hope they get it done. If a guy didn't want to go in the game, I'd be like, okay, fine, just take it in. I mean, that's what it is. I think he doesn't want to play. Get him out of there, get him gone, and it is what it is. It's it's in a difficult situation. Never heard of it before, but it happens, and I think it's been handled properly. I wouldn't know what I would do. I wouldn't snap on the guy probably.
Thanks, Doug.
That's it.
See you guys. Thanks.